Hello, listeners. My name is Charles Scott Sr., and here we are again this week at Can We
Yes.
Talk? I'm here with Charles Scott Jr.
How you guys doing this week? As you know, every week we come to you with not just information on real estate, but information to help your lives get better.
This week we're going to talk a little bit about what's happened in the past week, as we usually do, to give you some information out there. So if you get a pad and pencil, or if you want to tell a friend, or tune in, or you can also go to some of our previous episodes on
subscribe.
YouTube,
TikTok, Facebook, also we're on Twitter also.
Today we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening in the marketplace, what's happening in the economy, what's happening out there as far as interest rates, what's happening as far as housing, if you're renting, if you own a house, or if you're looking to own a property or trying to rent an apartment. You need to tune into this channel, because this is the information that we give you.
Yes.
We give you a lot of resources that possibly you were not aware of, and it can assist you in getting that rental apartment, or in selling that house, or maybe even purchasing a property.
Exactly. So what are we seeing now? Right now, we're seeing buyers come into our office. They're ready to look for houses, and we look at the computer. What do we see? We see possibly a house instead of houses. Our inventory is very low right now, and what we're seeing across the board is people, not moving.
Now is a great time to sell a house if you're looking to sell a property. And we want to today maybe touch on some of the advantages of selling, ways of selling, and creative ways of selling a property. Well, how it would actually benefit you.
Yes.
One of the reasons why there's right now there's a shortage of real estate.
Very short.
That's one of the
shortest in 30 years, they said.
30 years. And then what's happening? What's the reason for that? Well, we had the COVID. So during the COVID, a lot of people were staying put. They weren't moving around all that much. Mm-hmm. So you had a situation where the builders who build the homes stopped building homes.
They slowed down.
Just about everybody stopped building homes. So you're saying, why am I going to build a house when everybody's working from home, everybody's in their apartments, there's not a lot of activities. Mm-hmm. So normally, let's say there's millions of homes that are being built every single year. So now all of a sudden you have a shutdown where people just stop building, and now you have a situation where people are back out in the field, people are looking for homes, and they're finding out that there's no inventory. Remember what happened with the container shortage?
Yeah.
All the containers were out in the ocean. You're trying to buy products, you couldn't buy this. You go to grocery store, the grocery stores, there's nothing to buy.
Yeah, so basically you have what we call a supply crunch, where you have people ready to buy, they're pre-approved, they have good credit, they've been to the bank, they've sat down with the mortgage person, but when they go to the realtor, they say, well, I'm here to look at houses all day. We may check the system, maybe 2 or 3 houses that fit their criteria.
The other thing is that most people right now, most developers that are building a house, they're building the luxury homes.
Very true.
Why? Because first of all, the cost of the land. The cost of the land is very expensive. And they can't pay a lot of money for the land, then build the house, and then sell it for a little bit of money.
Exactly.
So rather than do that, they just don't build at all. Now, if they build a big house, and the people that have money, and the luxury crowd, if they have $10 million and now they only got 9, well, still they can afford a house for $1 million, no matter what. And so what's happening is that a lot of the builders are building, large houses, big houses, because when you figure out how much it costs for the land, how much and the lumber cost is soaring.
Material parts are going up, labor. But also not just big houses. We're seeing a lot of condo developments, a lot of luxury condos where you look at the prices. Some of them would cost the price of a house in some towns.
Now, all is not lost, because now, come along, the states have passed some laws, and some cities are slow to adopt it, where they're talking about tiny houses.
Oh yes, the accessory homes.
Accessory homes. This is a house, believe it or not, that you can buy from Amazon.
Oh yeah.
Amazon will ship the whole house out to you, and like you go to Home Depot and you have the sheds that you can buy and put in your yard. Well, with a tiny house, the house comes prefabbed, already, put all the wood separate pieces, just like putting the pieces, Part A goes to Part B, Part C.
It's like a modular home, just on a smaller scale. It goes in your backyard, but you must have a certain square footage in your backyard. But it usually works for in-laws, or maybe if you have a roommate situation.
Right. The holdup right now is some cities, depending upon the regulations as to where you can put them. You have to have a certain amount of land, extra land. In other words, maybe you have a house, you got a big, huge backyard, or you got a huge side yard, or you have an extra lot. You got a house and you got a big lot that all you've been doing is cutting grass on.
Exactly.
So now you say, hey, you know what? Maybe my daughter went off to college and she's moving back home and we don't have enough rooms. So we're going to take and build a little accessory house and use that as an extra, instead of bedroom, have our own individual little house.
Now the advantage of that, if there are accessory houses built, we can see that putting an ease on the rental prices. As far as if there's more places to rent, then the prices can come down. Same thing with the houses. If there's more places to buy, then the prices will have to come down.
Some cities are even going as far now as letting single-family homeowners rent out their rooms. Before, they frowned against that because they considered it a rooming house.
Like Airbnb.
And you can only rent to, you could only do your in-law, families. Now they're saying strangers, in a sense where you could rent out a room to an individual, and they could have like a common area. So some of these things are changing, where the cities are trying to get creative, the real estate companies are trying to get creative and come up ways to how can we alleviate this problem. Everybody realizes that there's a problem now.
Yes.
What do we do about the problem? And we can't keep going on as a business as normal, because the problem's only going to get worse.
Exactly. Because we see people right now, they're not moving. They see the interest rate. They're saying, well, right now, I bought in 2017, 18. I got 3% interest rate. If I move, I'll have a higher interest rate. But there's not all, I'll say bad things about it. There's some definite positive things for you to sell right now.
Which we're actually going to talk about that. On the way here, we were talking about, the positive reasons for selling. And we try to give you creative ways in which you can think out there. If you are, let's say, a senior citizen and you're looking to retire, now, in the past few years, or the years in the past, a lot of people moved to Florida. Florida was a big retirement community.
The main area.
Senior citizens went down there, nice warm weather year-round. Very little heating bill.
Yeah, it's hot down there.
Low taxes,
no
recreational.
income tax.
You got to worry about going in the snow, up and down hills, level land. Beach was right there. So a lot of people were retiring to Florida.
Exactly.
So what happened was then the prices in Florida have now started going up. So to buy a house in Florida, now the price is going up.
And also with all the hurricanes and natural disasters,
Hurricanes,
you got the insurance
cost and everything. But there's a bright spot. Here's the creative thing that you should think about. If you're a landlord, and let's say you're up here in the Northeast and you're around here, you got to worry about, we put together a list of things that a landlord is responsible for.
Yes.
And some landlords that are present landlords, that have been landlords for the last 20 years or 25 years, maybe you have a two-family house, and that two-family house is, or a three-family house that you're getting income from, and you live in a single-family house or another property. So what do we do to get actually inventory out there? One of the things you can possibly do is you can sell that particular property, versus in the past, it really wasn't feasible. So let's say, for example, you sell that property and now you decide to move to Florida, or even both of your properties.
Or any place that may have favorable, I see a lot of people going to Texas now. Texas has a lot of land. A lot of people are retiring, going down there. And what else? The Gulf areas like Louisiana.
Now, it makes sense. Why? Because it didn't make sense maybe about 3 years ago, or 4 years ago during the COVID. The interest rates were down to like what? 0.5%,
less
2%.
than 2%.
I mean, and on money in the bank, like 0%.
0%.
So look at it this way now. You're a senior citizen, you're retired, you have a two-family or a multi-family, the tenants are calling you, there's work that needs to be done, you're older, and you're just probably just saying, oh, I've had enough with the maintenance and all this.
A lot of tired landlords.
So the landlords are sort of beat up on. So now you say, okay, I'm going to sell that property. Now here's the good part. Interest rates have gone up. So, there's always a good and a bad side. So it's a good side if you have money invested. Because with money invested, CDs, you can get a good CD now paying over 5%.
Yep.
Whereas before, you had a CD was paying 0.5%. So let's say you have a two-family, a three-family, and you sell it for $300,000, $400,000. So now, if you take $300,000 invested at 5%, that's 15%. What, 15,000?
Just about.
You got almost like $15,000 a year coming in. Divide that into weeks, you've got like what, $300 a week coming in.
Just about.
So that's $300 of passive income. That's money that you got just from the interest on the money you put in the bank from that multifamily. Now you got your retirement, maybe you got your Social Security kicking in another $2,000 a month. Now maybe you got a pension. The pension's kicking in another $1,500 or $2,000 a month. So now you got 3 and 2 is 5, and you got another $1,500. You got like almost $6,500 a month coming in.
Yes.
Your expenses are low because you don't have to heat the house in Florida. Taxes are still low. And you have all the money coming in. So therefore, if you have a multifamily house and you're tired of dealing with tenants, or you're just tired of taking care of the maintenance, it's now a good time to sell that property while the prices are high, while the interest rates are high. You know, it's unusual for us to say something about what's the advantage of high interest rates when it comes to housing. Well, you sell the house and you're going to take advantage of the high interest rates in your bank.
Well, I'll say in this situation with the real estate market, you have to know how to adapt. So I would say for those who, let's say, if you're not a senior citizen, you do have a multifamily, I would say now is the time to capitalize. Not just multifamily, single families also. If you sell it right now, I would say this is probably, I'll say we're pretty much almost at the peak, I'll say, if not already going down. The thing in real estate, like I say, and what my father has told me, it goes up gradually. We see over the years it's been rising, rising, rising. But remember, once you see it start falling, it falls fast, really fast, for the point where you list your house, you may have to do a reduction within a week.
It's like you said, it's like a train chugging up a hill. The train goes up, up, up.
I'll say it's more like a roller coaster.
I was going to say the roller coaster. I was just thinking of that.
Chain it. I don't want to be on that train. It's going downhill. But a roller coaster, definitely. It goes straight down to where you call your realtor, say, let's list the house for 400. He'll tell you, hey, I recommend you do 320. The market's falling. So
you know, a funny story is, if many of you out there ever saw the movie Trading Places.
Oh, yes.
With Eddie Murphy, and where they were talking about buy, what was it, pork bellies, right? And then they were buying to get the price of the stock higher. And it was going high, and then he went buy, everybody was buying. And then all of a sudden he said sell. And when they said sell, the price went from like here to down
right to
in
the
a
bottom.
matter of minutes. So same thing happens in real estate. When there's a selling frenzy, or when things start going down and the indicators come out, the Federal Reserve comes out with their interest rates increasing or reducing, about every 3 months or something like that.
The next one's in July.
And the next one's next month. So actually, when they come out, they say one word and that affects the entire markets. You know, they could say possible rate increase. Those two words say, oh my goodness, then the stock market takes off or it goes crazy. Or they may say a suspension of interest rates for the next 6 months pending further review. Then everybody buys.
Exactly.
So, but when things start happening, I've been in business over 38 years and I've seen a lot of these ups and downs. I mean, I've seen real estate go up, I've seen real estate come down. And I've seen this happen over 4 times in my career. And I never forget one of the most dramatic one was like back in the 1990s.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember I had a lot of deals going. We had offers on properties. And, you know, you get in touch with your banks every couple of weeks to find out what's happening with the deal. And I called the bank up and no one was answering the phone. And I remember the name of the bank was IndyMac. And we're calling and nobody's picking up the phone. I'm like, what happened to the bank? So then I called the branch and there's nobody there.
Bank went out of business, or the mortgage place went out of business.
Right.
Wow.
I call the other branches. I call it. No one's picking the phones. Then that was on. I remember that was on a Thursday. That next Monday, I call the bank and it says, "We are no longer in business. Please refer all questions to the RTC." That was the Resolution Trust Company. That was the bank. That was the federal government put together an entity to take over all
those,
the banks. And I'm like, what's going on here? What do you mean they're not open? They're not in. Then I call another bank. Same thing happened. Call another bank. And then all of a sudden it hit the fan. It's all over the news. This bank's going, this bank's going on. So all these deals that we have, they're no good now because the bank's saying, we don't have any more money.
Well, you may remember back in, I think it was April or March, that happened on the news. You saw a bank that was, SBC was saved by the federal government. Now remember, when that happens, it's because people, they want to spread fear. I mean, if they see that one bank is failing and the bank is bigger than theirs, maybe they'll pull their money out and do what some of our customers do. They put the money under the mattress. That bank isn't going out of business anytime soon. Right. They'll put it liquid and put in cash or gold. And the thing is, without the money in the banks, the economy can't work. We need the money in the banks because that money creates what they call loans and mortgages. So the economy must keep running and the money must keep changing hands. So that's why you see the Federal Reserve steps in and they do save these banks. And usually it's quietly over the weekend too.
I was just going to say that.
You don't see them publicize it. Hey, we saved the bank.
Banks always go under on a Friday.
Yep.
That way it gives the government time to figure out what to do on Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday.
By Monday, it's called a different name. New banners up.
Monday, and like we saw that happen recently with the Silicon Valley Bank.
Yep.
On a Friday, it announced that they were going out of business. All weekend, there was Jeremy Diamond from, what is it, Chase? JP Morgan, Chase, all the big hitters, all the big banks. They were all getting together. You saw the cars pulling up at the Fed. Mm-hmm. They were up all night long trying to figure out who's going to put some money in. I'll put in 50 million. I'll put in 50 million. I'll put in $1 billion, and all the money put together. And then they said, okay, we're going to buy this bank. And Monday morning it opened up with a new name. And I remember the people were all standing in lines all over the weekend trying to get their money out. They had payroll. They had employees that had to get paid.
And what we call, that's called a run on the banks, which, it could happen. Your bank down the street, your local credit union, I mean, they have, let's say, 400 customers. They can't give you all your money at the same time because some of that money is allocated. You got to think about it. The bank needs to make their own money. They invest money on their behalf also.
Mm-hmm. What was it, that 10% rule, I think it was. The banks actually only hold about 10% of all the money.
I think it's lower than that.
Or lower than that.
At one point during COVID, it was zero. They could loan out all the money and have zero on the books.
Right. So you go looking for your money, they're like, even today, if you go into a bank, a regular branch, and you say, hey, I want to take $10,000 out, they'll say, well, set up an appointment, come back Wednesday when we got the money.
Yeah, make sure they have the money in the account.
It's like, what do you mean you got the money in the account?
Or the liquid money in the bank, the actual cash.
I said, what do you mean? That's my money. I put it in here, and you mean you don't have it? No, we got to order the money to be able to pay it back.
Isn't that something?
The banking business is fabulous when you start looking into how this system works. So what we're saying to you mainly is this. There's a way in which you could take advantage of this system because right now, because the interest rates are high, it's a good time if you have some cash to put in, and you've got an investment somewhere and it's not earning you anything, or in some cases, just because people say real estate investment makes money, in some cases it's flat where you're just doing all the work and looking towards the future, or either you might have tenants that aren't paying you, you might be losing money.
Exactly.
Just because you had a real estate, maybe you're not earning anything.
And also, I was going to say, speak to our customers, some of our viewers, they give us calls, some may be going through foreclosure. You may realize in this time, and maybe once in a lifetime, you may have equity in your house. You could sell your house, what they call, it's not even going to be a short sale. You actually have equity. You could sell the house and cash out. Because people may not realize, I'm in foreclosure. Here, take the house back, bank. Remember, you have a fighting chance. Remember, the house is in your name. Your name's on the deed. Although the bank holds the mortgage, you're the one living there. So we specialize in that. I would say give us a call if you're going through foreclosure.
I'm glad you touched on that. Many of you out there, if you're going through problems, if you're going through a situation where you have a property and you cannot afford to pay for that property, and even if you've gotten a foreclosure notice, the worst thing in the world you could do is sit there and hide out from the bank and do nothing.
Exactly.
That is the worst thing you could do. In other words, there's many options that you have.
Many.
Many people have equity, which means that the house is worth more than what you owe on it. If it's a situation, and because you have not made yourself aware of what the sales are in your area, or maybe you haven't found out what the actual worth of the property is because you're so drowned in debt and so worried about how you're going to pay for it or lose it, give us a call and we do what we call a market analysis.
Yes.
Seems like I'm doing more of those than usual now.
Yes.
We will let you know how much your house is worth, because if you owe $150,000 on the house, and maybe the city's taking it because of taxes, maybe the water company's taking it because of the water bill, or maybe you haven't made the mortgage payments. Whatever it may be, if you only owe $150,000 and the house is worth $300,000 or $350,000, it makes a big difference, because you can sell that house and end up not only paying everybody off, but ending up with over $100,000.
How about that?
In your pocket in profit.
People don't realize, because they may say, well, how is that possible? I mean, my uncle went through this in 2008, 2009. It's really different this time around. You got to realize, even though in this situation, if we're going to see foreclosures coming in, there is a lot of equity has been built over the last 5 years compared to when this happened in 2008. People were underwater severely. Houses worth 150 were worth 75 on the books. This is like the opposite. This time around, houses that were bought for 150 in 2017, 18, they're worth 300 or more. So people have a lot of chances. I'll say this foreclosure crew is better than last generations. Definitely.
No matter where your property is, your property could be in a depressed area.
Yeah.
It could be in an area where you feel as though, oh, nobody wants to buy a house in this area, nobody wants a house over here, and that house could be worth $350,000 or $400,000, which is mind-blowing to you, because maybe you're thinking, well, I wouldn't buy a house over here, I wouldn't buy this house. And even the condition that it's in.
Yes.
It could need a roof. It could need furnace. It could need all kinds. It could be a rehab. It could need a tremendous amount of repairs.
I would say in this situation, sellers still have a little bit of the upper hand where they can sell this house at what we see as is. I see as is on the majority of listings.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that they've got to fix the house up to sell it.
They do, don't they?
So they're saying, oh, look at this house. It needs a lot of work. And the roof is leaking. The furnace doesn't work. There's all kinds of problems here. So they sit there and they don't do anything. They're saying, or a lot of times people say, well, I'm going to sell my house once I fix it up.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to do that. You could sell the house as is. Fixer-upper. Handyman special, whatever it may be, and it could still be worth a lot of money without you picking up a shovel, without you picking up a paintbrush
or anything.
And a lot of people say, well, I don't have the money to pay the mortgage, I don't have the money to fix it up to get it ready to sell. Don't worry about that. Sell it as is. Just
as is.
You see many cars, when people sell a car, the car sold as is. No guarantee, no warranty, nothing. You see what you see is what you get. You might be selling it to a mechanic who's got a motor in the back of his garage.
Exactly.
So he doesn't care. Same thing right now more so than ever.
I would say more so than ever right now.
More than ever now.
You can sell a house as is. You don't have to do any replacements or anything. And let's say they do an inspection, they do find some items. I mean, you have two choices. You can help them, you can repair it, you can go down your price, put it back on the market. So you have a lot of options when it comes when you're selling a house in this particular market. But remember, the market doesn't stay the same. Like, I'll say our episode next year at this time, we could be laughing saying, don't you wish you sold last year? Look what we have now. We have plenty of inventory. Prices are low, so you want to make sure you take advantage of what the time is showing us now.
Yeah, many people right now, you have a lot of people out there that are looking for, I'd say the biggest demand right now is fixer-uppers.
Yeah, fixer-uppers.
People are looking for properties that need work. They're looking for properties that need a lot of work, because a lot of times you have people that do that kind of work.
Oh, yeah.
You have a lot of the people that are tradespeople. Maybe my brother, in my family, I got a brother-in-law, he's a carpenter. He fixes houses. He can do siding. He can do, I got another brother, a plumber. I got another brother that does this. So I got a nephew does roofing.
Yeah, some
So,
people,
hey,
I'll say,
I don't mind the properties.
some people walk into a house, they have imagination, and they say, oh, I can do this, I can fix that, and fix that. Because remember, when you're buying a house all fixed up, they've done the work for you, and that's going to reflect in the price. You're going to say, well, this house is worth $450,000, but there's a house next door, $350,000, but it's dated. Remember, you can always go there and fix it up yourselves. And from the seller's point of view, remember, you can always sell it as is.
Always remember that. The other thing, too, you got to realize is that when a bank is loaning money to someone to buy a house, the house doesn't have to be all shiny. It just has to be, some cases, functional.
I say functional.
That means, for example, if it's got an older stove, an older refrigerator, an older furnace, the bank doesn't care. The bank, as long as it works, you can't sell, the bank's not going to loan money if this doesn't work or if the house doesn't work.
Exactly.
Unless it's a rehab loan. Sometimes a person can
Yes.
borrow money to fix a house up. That's where what we're talking about, selling your house if it needs a lot of work as is. Because the
Exactly.
bank will loan money to that person to buy that house to fix it up.
Yeah.
So don't be ashamed if the house needs work. Don't be ashamed if it's all cluttered. Don't be ashamed if the roof is leaking. Don't be ashamed if the grass hasn't been cut.
Exactly.
Don't be ashamed if you're in foreclosure. The house has equity. The house is worth a lot more than you think it is. You can sell that particular property and, like I said, still put $100,000 in your pocket.
That's
you
the
take
thing.
the $100,000 and you could put it into like a CD giving you 5% interest, which is another $5,000 a year. That's $100 a week, so that's $400 a month to help you out with your Social Security and your pension. So now you went from crying to smiling.
Yeah, right. You got the income coming in. Now, remember, those who are buying houses for the first time, those high interest rates, they're not permanent. For example, let's say you do get a house and you get let's say a 6.5 interest rate. Remember, you can always refinance in the future. That's why when people say, when's a good time to buy a house? I say when you're ready. When you get a pre-approval, you come sit down for a realtor and you see what inventory is out there.
Remember, there's always an upside to everything.
Yes.
The sun is always shining over the clouds.
Exactly.
So no matter what happens, you come in and talk to us, because if you're not in the business and if you're not a professional, it's hard for you to figure out what's happening within the marketplace.
Exactly.
We may have a buyer for you over here, or a seller for you over here, or a solution for your particular property. But if you're getting a notice, if your house is in foreclosure, the last thing you could do is run. Always
Yes.
sit down. We can negotiate with the bank. We can even do a short sale. There's so many options.
So many options, and let them know how much that CMA costs. It's free.
Free. We don't charge you.
You give us a call, we'll come check the property out. Remember, we need to see it in person. A lot of people call us, they see this episode, and they say, all right, my house is this, how much do you think it's worth? I need to see it in person. I mean, I can give you a rough estimate, but I need to see it in person to see exactly what I'm working with.
So hopefully this week we've given you a lot of good information. Yes. Tune in if this was informative to you. Tell your friends, watch us on YouTube, and watch us next week. Till next week, God bless.
Amen.